Welcome to the channel, welcome to today's run through of all the latest Manchester United news and transfer updates, keeping you right up to date with everything. I'm Jamie. Before getting into it, smash a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and let's jump straight into it. So it's been a bit of conflicting news overnight last night regarding Amorim and his situation. We've had an update from David Ornstein, where I think he had some really good things that we're going to run through today as well. And then after that, some United journalists coming out kind of conflicting what David Ornstein was saying as well. So we're going to run through all the latest there ahead of the what I think is a big game today, more so for me because I live in the northeast. My friends and family, a lot of them up here, a majority of them are all Sunderland fans. So I am absolutely bricking it today because I will not live this down if United lose to Sunderland at home. So there's a lot riding for me personally on this game because of my location and, like I said, my partner's side of the family that live up here are all Sunderland supporters, so I am absolutely bricking it ahead of today. But let's go through the latest regarding the manager. So, first of all, Laurie Whitwell on the Athletic podcast said the following. You might have already seen this, but I want to do it in a bit of an order so we can get a sense of what's going on. So this was on whether he would whether Amorim would be sacked if he lost to Sunderland. So Laurie Whitwell said the following: from speaking to people, even if United lost to Sunderland, I don't think it would be the end for Ruben Amorim. Ratcliffe is the one who'll decide, and I'm told he wants to give Amorim the full season. It's a new squad to a degree. It's the coach trying to get his methods across even more so. We can debate if that's the right choice or not, but that's the current messaging from the very top with Sir Jim Ratcliffe. So Laurie Whitwell saying that, regardless of the result against Sunderland today, the belief is that Ruben Amorim will not be sacked. Interestingly, he says that Ratcliffe wants to give him the full season, but, what he wants and what happens are two different things, aren't they? If results don't improve, then there's going to come a cut-off time where we have to make a change, I suspect, as well. Regardless of what you want, you have to, go off of the evidence and the results and the performances that are in front of you. Then we had Fabrizio Romano say a similar thing, that Manchester United have not prepared anything in case they lose the game to Sunderland. They want to focus on the games ahead, support Amorim, and try to get results. So Laurie Whitwell, Fabrizio Romano, effectively saying that, United are not preparing to sack Ruben Amorim. If they lose to Sunderland, they want to focus and support the manager. Then David Ornstein came out and said the following regarding the situation. So Manchester United, as I understand it, are not planning to sack Amorim. They don't want or intend to. I don't think he's planning to walk away from this. I do think sort of incrementally there's a bit of improvement felt, however, small so far this season, especially with some of the new signings, and it is still early. Sir Jim Ratcliffe with Sporting Control is at the heart of this. He's heavily involved. Omar Barada, Jason Wilcox. There's a lot riding on this decision for them because they essentially appointed him. Manchester United would like to give Amorim more time. And then he went on to say there's no guarantee that if they lose to Sunderland, they would sack him. And in fact, I don't think they would as long as it wasn't too severe. So what does that mean? If we lose 1-0, he's fine. But if we lose 3-0, then he's going to get sacked. That makes no sense to me because if you're going off of results, then, a loss is a loss, isn't it? In my opinion, I don't think I would accept, a 1-0 as okay, as different. Obviously, yeah, we got stuff free, or we got get battered today, then that's a different scenario. But I still wouldn't accept it if we lose the game today. Being truthful with you. So that's so the latest there. So that's Laurie Whitwell, very credible when it comes to United, Fabrizio Romano and David Ornstein. So in my opinion, three of the best United journalists around. David Ornstein's obviously the oracle. Fabrizio Romano is Fabrizio Romano and Laurie Whitwell, like I said, very credible when it comes to United, all suggesting that regardless of what happens today, then the club are still backing Ruben Amorim. What I would say on that, though, is we were hearing the same things around Erik ten Hag. I don't think that the club, even if they were considering sacking a manager, would come out and brief the media that they were, because it just becomes an untenable situation for the manager. Remember before the FA Cup final when we had all the talk around Erik ten Hag getting sacked regardless? Like, it didn't help our preparation. I know we ended up winning, which nobody suspected at the time, but it didn't help, did it? All that noise around it. So it doesn't help if the club are coming out saying, yeah, no, it's all on this game, because it puts too much pressure on players and the manager, and it's not and it's kind of counterproductive of what you want to do. So I do think that the club have to brief that out from internally, saying no, we're supporting and everything like that as well. Whether the result will change that, who knows? But they're not going to come out and say anything differently. It would be absolutely, we'd be shooting ourselves in the foot. And you give the players an excuse, and then you put almost too much pressure on the manager then as well. So you need to, let him do his job, and then make an assessment on whether he's doing his job under less pressure than if you put in that sort of pressure on people, I think. But so three of the top journalists around, I think, for United saying no, not going to be sacked. However, since then, so this was after David Ornstein, everything like that as well, we had James Ducker, who is a good journalist, well connected for United as well, saying the following: that Ruben Amorim could be sacked if Man United lose to Sunderland on Saturday. Telegraph Sport understands Amorim is under acute pressure heading into a must-win game against the newly promoted Wearside club at Old Trafford. Another defeat in United's last outing before the international break, after which they travelled to Anfield to face Premier League leaders Liverpool, could severely test the patience of co-owners Sir Jim Ratcliffe and the Glazers. There are concerns about how the persistently poor results are impacting on the confidence of the squad. Telegraph Sports understands a growing number of players are losing faith in the manager to turn things around. So James Ducker going against Laurie Whitwell, Romano and David Ornstein, and suggesting that maybe the hierarchy at the club now have concerns about the results, because it's obviously having an impact on the confidence of the squad and stuff like that as well. Then we've also had Chris Wheeler come out saying pretty much a similar thing. The mood among Manchester United's hierarchy has changed since the team were beaten at Brentford last weekend, and a number of players have lost faith in Ruben Amorim's ability to turn the season around. So we've had two out of the journalists, though, I would believe the first three. That's why I've done it in this order: Laurie Whitwell, Ornstein and Romano, suggesting that actually note the result. But then after that, after they've come out with their briefs, James Ducker and Chris Wheeler, who are also connected at the club as well, suggesting something different. So it could be, could it be Ruben Amorim's last chance? Who knows? Who knows? I think it will all depend on the performance and obviously the result. If we play well and win, then, buys them a little bit more time. But if we don't play well and obviously lose, then maybe there would be a decision made in the international break as well. But like I said, I think the main club briefs they're not going to come out and say, yeah, it's all on this game, because it's just that's not how you should run a football club. You can't come out saying that and briefing that to the media as well. You're just shooting yourself in the foot doing that. So ultimately, we're going to have to wait and see. I personally hope, obviously I want United to win, but then some of this noise will maybe go away. But it just seems like we're just going to be constantly treading on eggshells, don't we, with the manager situation? It seems to be that way now, doesn't it? We've been down this road before, and all the reports from other journalists that I've been bringing you this week have been saying a similar thing, that behind the scenes it feels a little bit familiar around what's going on there. But interestingly, though, going back to those pieces, they were both saying that the players are losing faith in the system. And the one criticism I would have about that is, I don't trust the players anyway, or a lot of the ones, and this is where I do have an issue with Ruben Amorim, is his team selection, consistently picking players that we know are not, are not mentally right at sometimes to play for United, because we've seen it over the years. I'm talking Dalot, Shaw, Bruno, Bayindir in goal. I mean, like, the team selection, I think, is a massive issue, and if you've got players that are questioning that, then get them out of the team. Just get them out of the team and remove them, regardless of who they are or what they are. If they're doubting your system, you can't keep picking them, because they will throw you under the bus and they'll stop doing what you're asking them to do. But interestingly, though, on the players, David Ornstein had the following to say: the players are mainly with him. They believe in what he's doing, but there's an acceptance that when they concede a goal, for example, they're not doing what they've been set up to do by him, and maybe it's a psychological and mental issue. And I have a big issue with the manager for that, because this infuriates me, going back to the Owen Hargreaves interview where he was saying the same thing around the players, saying, well, yeah, but sometimes the players are, almost traumatized by what's happened in the past, and just mentally they'll, like, if things don't go for them, they will just fold like cheap origami. And the reason I have, and that's a player mentality problem. That's the players, and I don't think the manager, can change that. You've got to get rid of them, in my opinion. Any player that's been scarred like that from the past needs to go, regardless of their talent or anything, because it's a mental issue with the players. But where I have an issue with Amorim is you're constantly selecting those players. Why not just bin them and drop them, and then give some of the young players a chance and give other players an opportunity that aren't so scarred before they become scarred by what the scarred players are doing in the team in the first place. Like, makes no sense to me. But interesting that David also said the players are mainly behind Amorim. I suspect there'll be a few that maybe not getting minutes and stuff that are not overly happy with what's going on at the moment, but suggesting that that they do think that it's a psychological and a mental issue, in which case it begs the question why you keep picking the same players if they're capable of doing that. Just get rid of them. Just get them out the team and get rid of them in the future is what I say regarding that. Now, Ruben Amorim himself, though, in his embargoed press conference, which was quite good, said that my biggest problem is that my players believe you when you say that the problem is with our team is the system. It drives me crazy. We must play in the same way, with the same power, the same intensity, the same focus. If we do that, the system doesn't matter. And that's where I do have a little bit of sympathy for Ruben Amorim, because I think he's right in what he's saying there, is that it's not about the system or the formation that he's playing. It's the application of that formation, because, and like he said, we don't, like, sometimes we just, look at the way we start games sometimes. Like, we started Chelsea like an absolute freight train, and why didn't we start against Brentford like that? And it can't be the manager. The manager must be giving the same message to say, look, we want to go out there, intensity, focus, and stuff like that as well. And the players are just not doing it. But where I do draw the line, where I don't have sympathy for Amorim, is he's picking the players. And if he knows that these players are flip-flop players that are capable of doing it one week and not the next, then why persist with them? Like, it makes no sense to me, because I think two things can be right at the same time. I do think it is a player mentality issue, because we've seen that they are capable of turning it on and off like a tap, but then I blame the manager for picking those players as well. When you have other options, like Ten Hag was doing a similar thing before, but remember when we had all those injuries and there was a massive injury crisis, he had no choice but to persist with the players. Well, Amorim's not got that excuse. I think he's got other players that he can play in positions. He's just choosing not to, which is where I don't have any sympathy for him as well. But yeah, according to Amorim himself, he thinks that it's not the system, it is the application in that system, it is the mentality, it's the intensity, the focus, and I can get on board with that as well. But like I said, I can't get on board with the fact that you'll pick them again, which is insane to me. Now, on the system itself, Ruben Amorim in his press conference said, "No, guys, I'm the manager of a big." So this is when he was asked if he was going to change it. He said, "No, guys, I'm the manager of a big club, and are the media going to dictate what I have to do? That's impossible. I can't accept that. As for the players, I talk to them every day, but I explain to them point by point what's happening in our team. Once again, it's not always a 3-4-3. You have to look at all aspects of the game. This team has played in a different system for many years, and you talked about the lack of identity and absence of idea, whatever. It's not the system, but the little details of our way of playing. I understand that people wonder how this team would play in another system. Maybe this team would win more matches, but if we don't change certain things, we won't win titles. That's what I tell my players. I don't want to make you change your mind. My players listen to you because we're not winning. They have to believe in me." So that was a big quote from Ruben Amorim, but I wanted to go through. So effectively what he's saying, so from Ruben Amorim's perspective, what he's saying is it is not the system. It is the players' mentality and their application within that system that is not, that they're not consistent with it. And we've seen that actually with our own eyes with the performances already this season, like the game against Fulham, really good first half, really bad second half. That wasn't necessarily a tactical change or anything. It's just a player mentality issue. But then also he's saying that he's not going to change the system because that's not the issue. The issue is the application. But then also saying that the players are listening to what's going out in the media, and that's then putting doubt in their mind, which then makes it harder for Amorim to sell his vision and his idea. And that again goes down to player mentality, doesn't it? If players are mentally listening to the media and believing, all the negatives going out there around the system, it is going to put a bit of doubt in their mind, and then maybe they're not believing in it, and ultimately, there'll come a crunch time, won't there? Because the players will decide this. If they decided down tools, then enough will be enough for Ruben Amorim. But yeah, give us your thoughts and feelings so far on everything said there, because I know you'll have different opinions on it. So Amorim's perspective is, it's the mentality, it's the application, it's the intensity, it's that is the problem, not the system. But then Amorim also saying that the noise around the system and changing it is not helping, because the players are listening to that and they have to get on board with ultimately what he's saying, because he is the manager. He's the one that's needs to get the buy-in from the players. But if he doesn't get the buy-in from the players, then ultimately he's going to end up losing his job, isn't he? Because results are not going to change. We're not going to get that consistency that we're all craving for. But yeah, give us your thoughts and feelings on that in the comments below. Now, interestingly, going back to David Ornstein, though, he had the following to say on his clip or his interview, where he said there is huge speculation about the system he is playing. I don't think it is seen as the core issue, more the need for a number 6, which was perhaps more pressing than the number 9 this summer, and will remain on the agenda going forward. So David Ornstein, again throwing another spanner in the works, was saying that actually the core issue at the club is not believed to be the system. It's believed to be the fact that we didn't get a number 6 in the summer, which was, the reason I wanted to bring this in is because there's a player mentality problem. There's clearly a player attitude problem, or quality issue, whatever with the group at the moment. I think there's Ruben Amorim making mistakes with his selection and maybe his messaging and stuff like that as well. So I think that's true. But then also it was a club decision to pivot for a number 9 and not go for a number 6 in the summer. That wasn't on Ruben Amorim. Ruben Amorim wanted a midfielder. The club decided to pivot for a striker instead of going for a number 6. If the reports from the summer were to be believed, I think it came from Laurie Whitwell or somebody close to United anyway. Correct me if I'm wrong on that in the comments, where they were basically saying that there was a pivot in the transfer window where they had the option, the decision to either go for a number 6 or go for a number 9, and the club were like, well, we're going to go for a number 9 because they felt goals were the biggest problem at the club. And David Ornstein is now suggesting that actually not going for a number 6 has caused a lot of the issues within the squad and the system. And that's not on Ruben Amorim. That's a club decision as well. So again, I do have some sympathy for Ruben Amorim, because some of the things that are happening at the moment are not all his fault, and they're out of his control. Player mentality problems, not getting the midfielder that he wanted in the summer, et cetera, not necessarily Ruben Amorim decisions. But where I can't support the manager is he's still picking these players, and that's what it boils down to in the end. If he was putting, Yoro, Heaven, Mainu, Ugarte, Ahmad, and we had like a different core of players, and you were getting similar inconsistent performances, at least it's something to get behind and something you can buy in and say, okay, well, they're young players, they need time to develop, and they're learning the new system and stuff like that as well. But when you've got all the old experienced players where there's no longevity, no future planning in that, like, what's the point in playing Casemiro every week when he's not going to be here next year, and he's out of contract? Same with Harry Maguire at the moment, although there are rumours maybe we're going to give him a new contract. But is that not another mistake now, watching his performances as well? There's rumours that Bruno Fernandes might be going to Saudi Pro League next summer as well. So there's 3 of you starting 11 straight away that might not be here next season. And then, I think majority of you out there listening, I'm going off of previous comments, not all of you, because we're all different, would maybe want to sell players like Dallo and Luke Shaw in the future as well. And there's just no longevity in that, is there? But but I could be more forgiving if he was getting the selection right. But that's where I have a big issue with Ruben Amorim at the moment. I suppose you can let me know how you think and feel about that in the comments below. Let's go through some other news. So one manager, that's been linked with if things do go wrong with Amorim and he loses his job is Southgate. Fabrizio Romano firstly said that Manchester United are not in direct conversation with Gareth Southgate. Despite reports, Southgate has an excellent relationship with Ineos, but it doesn't mean that the deal is already agreed or advanced. And David Ornstein said that people have talked about shortlist. I don't know of there being a shortlist to replace him. Of course, Man United will always be looking at options like every other club, but I'm assured that Gareth Southgate is not in the frame for the Manchester United job. Now, this came after, I think it was Samuel Lucas did a piece yesterday in The Sun that was basically saying that Gareth Southgate wants 4 years to be given a job and put out some waffle, basically. But that's been debunked by Fabrizio Romano and David Ornstein. And thankfully, David Ornstein saying that Southgate would not be in the running for the job if it became vacant at Manchester United as well. Now, another manager that could be is De Zerbi. So Roberto De Zerbi is regarded highly by Manchester United's hierarchy and would be someone they considered if and when they move on from Ruben Amorim. That came from Graham Bailey. I'm not sure he would be the right fit, though, with he does have a tendency to fall out with players and is very demanding as well. I don't know if that would be the right fit with the player mentality problem that we've got in the squad at the moment as well. But give us your thoughts on De Zerbi as a potential, I'm not convinced, got to be truthful with you, but give us your thoughts on that in the comments below. And then finally, let's go for some transfer news. So Juventus and AC Milan are still monitoring Manchester United striker Joshua Zirkzee, who has struggled for form with only 6 goals since his £36.5 million move in summer 2024. Now, that came from ESPN. Obviously, we know that there's been a lot of noise around Zirkzee going back to Italy, mainly from Italian media, who I don't trust anymore since the summer and the whole shenanigans around Jadon Sancho and Juventus being close and medicals booked. And then David Ornstein poured, water on that fire and put it out, and nothing obviously materialized from that as well. So but ESPN are actually a good source, suggesting that maybe AC Milan and Juventus would be monitoring Joshua Zirkzee. There's another report though coming from Peter O'Rourke saying that Joshua Zirkzee may seek a transfer from Manchester United soon. If he doesn't play regularly under Amorim, he might consider leaving, especially with the World Cup next summer approaching. He is currently unhappy, and that's where maybe going back to the David Ornstein, where he says most of the players are behind the decision. And maybe you will have some fringe players like Zirkzee, like Mainu, maybe Aiden Heaven, players like that at the moment where they're like, hold on, where's my minutes coming from as well? What do I have to do to get into the first team, when you're seeing players maybe ahead of you that aren't performing or aren't doing their job and are culpable for some of the results that we're getting at the moment as well. And maybe Joshua Zirkzee's got aspirations to play in the World Cup as well. So that could potentially be one to keep an eye on for January. Yeah, give us your thoughts on that in the comments. I mean, I don't blame him. If he's not getting minutes and not getting game time, then it is going to be, and that's the problem we've got this season, isn't it, with being out of the Carabao Cup and obviously not in Europe. The rotation of players is not there, and especially with the current manager who seems to have his favourites and will make the same substitutions in game as well, regardless of what's actually going on the pitch as well. But yeah, give us your thoughts on that in the comments below. Now, Graham Bailey has said that Chris Rigg is a player that remains on Manchester United's radar, and a summer bid was considered, but they had other issues squad-wise to sort out. Chris Rigg is a player that we've been linked with heavily in the past. Obviously, nothing materialised in the summer. Conveniently linked with him again while we're playing Sunderland, so I would say take that with a pinch of salt. We'll just have to wait and see what happens regarding these sort of younger players. I think will depend on, they're nice to get linked with and exciting, but do we need a prospect midfielder at the moment? I'm not entirely convinced, but give us your thoughts on that in the comments. And from one young player to another young player, so Gabriel. So Gabriel is a rising star in Manchester United's academy. The Manchester Evening News would not usually highlight a player so young, but there is a buzz in youth football around what Gabriel could achieve. Some academy followers suggest he could be the best talent United's academy has ever seen. That's big praise coming from the Manchester Evening News regarding one of our young stars, and he is an unbelievable talent. Like, he's already playing way above his age group and smashing it as well. Like, he is an unbelievable talent. Then it goes on to say in the report, academy coaches who have worked with Gabriel have marvelled at the youngster's skill set and have struggled to find weaknesses despite playing him years above his age group. So one to keep an eye on. Happy that we managed to keep him, because in the report it was saying that, big European teams were trying to poach him. There was like an 11th hour meeting with Omar Barada and Jason Wilcox where they sat him down and basically said, look, you can be the future face of Manchester United if you stay here. There's talks that Amorim's been watching his videos and potentially looking at him and there might be, a scenario where he comes into the first team maybe for training. I highly doubt that he would play at his age at the moment, but he is believed to be the next big thing, like the next Lamine Yamal. He's being linked to Neymar and all sorts as well. Very, very talented young player as well. So hopefully we can keep developing him and we can keep him at the club as well, because at that age group, he can be poached. and persuaded maybe to go to other clubs as well. But hopefully he sees a pathway to the first team. And like I said, if he's being highly regarded like that, and also being told, look, you can be the future face of Manchester United, then that's big praise for effectively a child playing in the under 18s at the moment. But give us your thoughts and feelings on that in the comments below. Give us your thoughts on all the other topics discussed in today's video, because it's you all up to date with the latest news and transfer updates. Don't forget to smash a like on the video on your way out. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. See you in the next one.